killing people. That's what he was good at. He was a warrior. On the day of Trafalgar, remember, he'd already been in major battles. He'd lost an arm and he'd lost an eye. In fact, one day he was patrolling on his ship out of Portsmouth, and one of the guys in the Crow's Nest spotted a French battleship, and they said, we can't go over there, but we need to turn around. And he famously put the telescope to his blind eye, and he went like that. I don't know what you're talking about. And then they went and had a scrap. You know what scrappies do, you punch up. So on Trafalgar, he was a man with a plan. What his plan was, you know, these galleons, they used to go side by side in a line, loads of them, and they used to fire broadside after broadside into one another. You know that? So what Nelson said, he says, we're not doing that. We're going to cross the T. So they turned into the French line, so that allowed the British ships to fire one broadside into the unprotected front and another broadside into the unprotected rear of the ship. Do you see what his plan was? And the first thing they did was they smashed the French command ship with Admiral Villeneuve in it, so they took out the command and control. Nelson was shocked. He stood on the quarter deck with all his admirals bling on, and all his sailors were like, you've got to be crazy, you're going to get shot. But he stood there, if I look scared, then my sailors are going to be scared. So he just stood there like that. A French sniper hit him, the bullet hit him in the shoulder and exited his spine, snapped it on the way out. But he didn't die, they took him below. The battle raged. We were outnumbered by the Spanish. I can't remember the exact totals, but we were outnumbered. And at the end of the battle, we'd sunk or captured about 15 of theirs, and they'd sunk or captured absolutely none of ours, and it was a great victory. And when they told him that we'd won, that's when he expired and he died. But he never liked the sea, believe it, Nelson, and he asked not to be buried at sea. So what they did, they had to sail back to Gibraltar, and it's hot, so they had to preserve his body. So they put the body in a barrel of brandy. Have you heard this story before? Yeah. And they put it under 24-hour armed guard by the Royal Marines. When the body got back 3 days later to Gibraltar and they unloaded it, guess what they found? Well, 3/4 of the brandy was gone. So either Nelson drank it or the Marines drank it. Today it's a mystery what happened. And then he went back to London, where he was given a state funeral, and he was buried in St Paul's, and his body's still there today. We'll be going past St Paul's tomorrow, and I'll show you where it is. But the funeral cortege was so huge that by the time he had arrived in St Paul's, the back of it still hadn't left the Admiralty at Westminster. That's how big it was. And because he was Royal Navy, he was on a Royal Navy gun carriage, and that's why they put the Royals and all the people now on a Royal Navy gun carriage. That's where the tradition started. And some of the horses had bolted, or they had some sort of issue, so it was the sailors jumped in and they pulled it. And I think now the funeral cortege, the body is pulled by sailors and not by horses. The tradition started there. For those of you that are into feminist history, he's connected with a very important woman in history, and her name's Emma Hamilton. Have you heard of Emma Hamilton, darling? Shame on you. Emma Hamilton's a girl you need to read all about. She was a farmer's daughter from Cheshire up near Liverpool, so she was the lowest of the low. She was expected to achieve nothing, but she was incredibly attractive, and like me, she knew how to use her looks, you know what I mean? And so she'd been spotted by a local lord, and he was like, I'll give you £100 if you become my mistress. That was like 4 times what her dad would gross in a year. So she was like, yeah, I'll do that. And for £100 a year, I'd have been his mistress as well, you know what I'm saying? And then subsequently she got spotted by other people, and her salary went up until she got spotted by someone in the highest rank of the aristocracy who married her. And she became Lady Emma Hamilton from the bottom to the top, a bit like a certain actress we know, the one who can't be mentioned. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so she went from the bottom to the top, so because of her looks. Then when she met Nelson, he was recuperating from injuries received in one of his many battles. They fell in love, and they travelled about as a ménage à trois. Ménage à trois, which was scandalous at the late 1700s. Emma Hamilton gave birth to a child. Nelson's name was Horatio, and the child was named Horatia, just in case there was any confusion over whose child it was. And it was met with scandal. Now, when he died, he told the Admiralty, told everyone, he wrote specifically, he said, I want all my money and everything to go to my child Horatia. So where did all his money go? It went to his wife, because he'd actually married someone in East Anglia. And that's how it works. She is the next of kin because she's the wife. So Emma Hamilton and his baby got absolutely nothing. There you are. And they were abandoned by society, and they died in poverty in Calais in France. She was an alcoholic by then, Emma Hamilton. But Nelson is seen as the archetypal British Superman, basically, one of the rock stars of his day. Is that a good story?
Yeah, it's a great story.
What about the ship?
When was it commissioned?
Right, so this ship, let's go and walk, because I